Hello and welcome to Original Soundchat, where video game music is a work of art. On each episode, it's our goal to help you learn about two soundtracks from the world of games, as well as the people, stories, and critical tracks behind them. My name is DeVader, and we're brought to you by Anonymous Dinosaur and Rhymes with Asia. It's time to appreciate great OSTs and the games they come from without getting too bogged down in music theory. And today's game is 2020's Star Renegades, the roguelike science fiction action title that sees you jumping between dimensions to stop an interdimensional cyborg invasion. That's right, it's just me. I'm here. So, it's been a hell of a time. First of all, over on Peter's end, some burnout was starting to set in, which I empathize with super hard after the past 2 months I have had. And then, past that, I've been sick for like a week. Possibly 2 now. No, it's been about a week and a half. Maybe a little over. I don't know. And it's been a lot of stuff around my throat. The throat stuff is mostly better now, but I feel like you can still tell that my voice is a little bit more scratchy than it is supposed to be. So I'm going to record this, but I'm also going to try and not talk for nearly as long. Luckily for me, making this episode a lot easier, this research was already done. I've had this research done for months. I believe we were supposed to do it back when Peter covered Ratchet and Clank, the Rift Apart. This was going to be the game that was paired up with it, and I had all my research done and all that, and then work got in the way and we couldn't do a duo episode, so I just decided to take that research and save it for a week when I figured I was going to need, like, a break. And lo and behold, that week has arrived. And yeah, you know, we're going to talk about Star Renegades. But first, how am I doing? What am I playing? I mean, I already mentioned I was sick, which is super weird. That's why Mario Party did not happen last week. If you're listening at time of release, it will be happening this Friday, hopefully. But just haven't had a voice, haven't had energy, my nasal stuff is all messed up. It's fine. I'm not dead, I guess, so, as far as I'm aware, it was not COVID. So thumbs up on that. As for what am I playing, I haven't really been playing much. I've kind of been focusing on, I kind of just got back into the swing of working on one of my cross-stitch projects, like one of the big ones, and so it's pretty much just been that recently. I'm still playing little bits and pieces of Little Goody Two Shoes, which I'm hoping to have a review of it out maybe by the time this episode comes out, hopefully. But it's interesting. I don't know what else to say. It's very interesting. All right, let's talk about Star Renegades, everybody. Star Renegades was originally released September 8th, 2020 for the PC, and then Switch and Xbox One would get it on November 19th, 2020, with a PS4 release on March 10th, 2021. It was developed by Massive Damage and published by Raw Fury. Star Renegades is a game that ventures to fuse concepts from tactical RPGs, turn-based RPGs, and roguelites. Those are the 3 things that the developers list as their goal of what to sort of put together. And the plot of Star Renegades is that when an army of cyborgs begins to invade multiple dimensions, destroying any solar systems they find in their wake, the people of one such solar system must band together to fight them back. So, I'm going to try my best to sort of describe how this game works. I've not played a ton of it, but I have played some. So, here we go. Combat works on like a timeline style system. So at the start of a turn, you can see on the timeline what actions the enemy is going to take and when on the timeline they are going to take it. So using this information, the player can then choose a character's action that will hopefully counter what the enemy is about to do. Though every action that you do takes a certain amount of seconds to execute, with a full round lasting 60 seconds. A crit will occur, however, if a character or enemy is hit before they are fully able to execute their action, And these can have multiple effects. Piercing armor or delaying their action further down the timeline are two things that are largely going to happen. And if you land enough crits on an enemy in one round, you can even push their action all the way into the next round, which is very useful. Characters have 3 health stats, being shield, health, and armor. Health and armor can only be restored between battles by finding crates or taking a camping break, while shields automatically restore at the end of each battle. Attacks themselves have core damage types, which, depending on what kind of attack they are, include normal, heavy, flurry, area of effect, counter, and combo. And enemies can be weak to specific types, general RPG stuff, but they can also be resistant and immune to them as well, so that's where the RPG comes in. And between battles, the party can camp, at which point they can be made to interact with each other. That builds their friendships in a card game. I'm not joking, it's a card game. Cards based on each party member's class and abilities. This can even lead to romantic relationships between party members, which could in turn cause them to have a child who will then become a unit with abilities from both parents. So it's a little bit of Fire Emblem as well, which is weird to say now that I've said it. Now, if the run fails, the player must then restart from the very beginning in a different dimension, but there are permanent unlockables such as new units or base upgrades that can be purchased or earned as the player goes, which give a greater chance of future success. And just in general, there's a lot of moving parts to this game, and I kind of hope that I've covered the gist well in a way that you kind of understand what we're doing here, but there's a lot of it. I tried my best. Which segues us perfectly into what are my experiences with Star Renegades. Like I said, I've played a couple hours. I want to get back to it. I want to see where this game goes when you start really unlocking stuff, because I've only played 2-3 runs somewhere in there. It's hard. It's a difficult game, but it's interesting, and I like the combat system, and I kind of really, really want to get into the weeds on the camping stuff. That sounds fun. Take my action figures and smush them together. But yeah, I haven't played a ton of it, but I find it to be a very, very interesting game, and people that have played it all the way through say that it is absolutely fantastic. So one day, I'll get real into it, I'm sure. Now, there's unfortunately not a ton of information about the development of Star Renegades. I looked pretty much everywhere I usually look, and I could not find anything. I did find some information on the team that made it, though. Massive Damage was founded in 2010. It's based in Toronto, Canada. And their previous title was the game Halcyon 6. Star Renegades was developed by a team of 10 people, and the whole game is presented in really nice pixel art, like genuinely extremely nice pixel art. And all of it's hand-drawn, and it looks fantastic. Some characters have upwards of 500 frames of animation associated with them, apparently. That is a number the dev dropped, which is an insane amount of animation frames for a pixel art game. And they really they did this because they specifically wanted to make an art style that was going to draw attention. And boy, did they do a relatively good job. As far as I know, it wasn't a runaway hit, but this game found its audience pretty well as far as I am aware. Though I'm kind of shocked to learn that it didn't review super well overall, because when this game first came out, I remember people talking about how it was fantastic, absolutely incredible. But the highest Metacritic it has is a 78 on PS4, which is not the worst, 77 on Xbox. But then you go to Switch, and surprising nobody, it goes all the way down to 67. Our folks over at Nintendo World Report in particular gave it a 5 out of 10. And that's because the Switch version was, say it with me everybody, much buggier than other releases at the same time. I hate to say this, I really do. But unless portability is like extremely what you're looking for and you don't have access to something like a Steam Deck, which I understand, like a lot of people don't have access to a Steam Deck. They cost goddamn $500. Don't buy non-exclusives on the Switch. They're always a worse version. Just every time. Anyways, in terms of like positive stuff, critics praised the game's deep and interesting systems, like its camping and its combat and all that, as well as just the game's general tone, but there was a lot of criticism thrown for its sometimes unfair difficulty, which sounds great. For me, everybody knows I like unfairly difficult games, as well as just having a collection of mechanics and features that some critics felt were kind of implemented better in other games that had done roughly the same thing. So, mixed reviews on that, which again, I'm very surprised to hear because when it first came out, I heard multiple people like singing its praises up and down. The soundtrack of Star Renegades was done by a man by the name of Steve London. London studied composition and conducting at Queen's University, which is a school in Ontario, as far as I can tell. I think, like, Queen's University is not exactly a unique name. I'm sure there's multiple of those around the world, but as far as I could tell, the one that he went to was in Ontario. And then he moved on to study scoring for movies and television at the University of Southern California. He currently lives between LA and Toronto, going back and forth. And he's an award-winning composer. He won the Canadian Screen Award for Best Original Music for a Feature Film for his work on the film Born to be Blue. And in terms of video games, the only other game that he has scored was Halcyon 6. So it's just that and Star Renegades, the two Massive Damage games. And other than that, he largely scores for television and movies and documentaries, though when I looked over his discography list, there was not really anything that I recognized. So just know that he did a lot, but it's not stuff that would have crossed my radar. And that brings us already to the Critical 5, because like I said, I didn't find a lot of information on the development of this game. So let's go ahead and jump directly into it with the main theme of the game. Critical track number 1 is Star Renegades. Like I said, this is the main theme of the game. I really like that it has a very determined vibe to it. You're willing and prepared to fight this fight over and over and over as many times as it takes until you win. And who knows if you ever will win. But that's not going to stop you from fighting. That's the tone that this song brings to me. I just generally like the overall feel of the song, especially like before the clip, admittedly, where there's just like this dissonant, not dissonant, but like distant dun 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 dun, and it works extremely well. I like this song a lot, and I think it fits the tone of Star Renegades extremely well. Critical track number 2, I should note that past this, I don't know where this music plays. I really don't. And it's especially hard to look up when this music plays due to, you know, the general makeup and flow of this game makes it very hard to go look up specific tracks, so because there aren't really specific areas or events as far as I know. It's like procedurally generated and all that. But anyways, critical track number 2, we're going to get into some of the songs that are named after classes in the game. This is Valkyrie's Vengeance. So, the fan wiki for Star Renegades describes Valkyries as tough, can deal heavy damage, taunt enemies, and take out armor. And I think this song sounds very much like somebody that is extremely strong and on the warpath with those deep, heavy synths. They're just really cool, and I like the flow of this song. If you're looking at like the characters in Star Renegades, Valkyries are the people with big mech suits and big swords, with your first being a character by the name of Win Syphex, Syphex, who is a woman who has just lost her brother and previously lost both of her parents as well. So I feel like this song probably at least has some hints of vengeance in there as well. Critical track number 3, this is another one named after a class in the game. This is Archon's Faith. The wiki describes Archons as powerful shield regeneration, provides support, and can do AoE damage. Your first Archon is someone by the name of Xurx Nirza, Xurxnirza, and he's a highly religious dude, hence you can hear some cool use of like organ-sounding synths in there. Like, they're obviously not an organ, but they are a synth that is seeming to want to, like, replicate the feel of an organ at the very least, which I think is really, really cool. It kind of feels like there might be a little bit of a Wrath of God vibes in there, and I dig that a lot. Critical track number 3, we're going to pull it back a little bit in terms of energy. This is Marshmallows on a Stick. Okay, if I had to guess, if I had to take an educated guess, maybe this plays when there's camping? I mean, it's called Marshmallows on a Stick. That shouts camping to me. And it's also got this very laid-back, like, synth sci-fi feel to it. Like, it feels like a moment of reprieve in a potentially dangerous area. And I can imagine this playing over interactions between companions and friends. I don't know, it's just a nice song, and that is what I assume it plays during, but again, I cannot say for sure. And critical track number 5, I think this is the credits theme, but I cannot say for sure again. This is Saving One Reality at a Time. I mean, Con, that sounds like the credits, right? Like, that sounds like it's a triumphant victory. It's the parade. It's Luke and Han and Chewie are getting their medals. Well, no, Chewie's not getting his. I guess that was that's like a whole thing. But, like, the medals are being given out. The war is won, and everybody is celebrating, and that's what this feels like. It's a little bit cheesy, but I can really picture it fitting the tone of the game. Being a little bit cheesy there at the end to indulge. It's nice. I like it. 4 tracks on the cutting room floor. I, of course, as usual, have 2. The first is Enforcer's Wrath. Okay, I find the really heavy synths in this song to be extremely cool, and definitely fitting for a song that has Wrath in the title. It sounds oppressive and in your face and just heavy, and I like it. I think this is rad. This song is rad. And my other track on the cutting room floor, this is The Imperium Invasion. Vague memories are telling me that this is the overworld theme? Like between fights and camps? Again, I can't say that for sure, but it's got like bits and pieces of the main theme, and it sure doesn't feel all that much like a battle theme, so that is going to be my guess. That being said, has little pieces of the main theme, and I think that's cool, so it stood out to me. So what will I never forget about Star Renegades? Honestly, I should go try the game again. Like I said, I enjoyed the little that I played, but I did not play a lot. So I kind of want to give it more of a shot. And maybe one day I will. Probably on the Steam Deck this time. My last time was on the Switch, which we just talked about. But I'm going to get to it. It's fine. We'll get there. And speaking of we'll get there, we have reached the end of this episode of Original Soundchat. It's a very short one this week, I'm very sorry. But again, I'm trying to make sure that I still have a voice come time to record the next one and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think we did well, all things considered. So, you can find me on Twitter at StringPixel, and you can find Peter over at Pete Speak Easy. The video version of this podcast is found on Rhymes with Asia, and the audio version you can find on an RSS feed on anondino.squarespace.com. And by virtue of having that RSS feed, that means we are also available on multiple podcatchers of your choice, be it Google Podcasts for however much longer it's going to survive, I guess. It's moving to YouTube Music, and then I assume in 6 months it will be on Google Cast Pro or something. I don't know. They switch every few days. Apple Podcasts on there too, and Spotify. And on Spotify, we have more than just the podcast feed. We also have a playlist full of video game music. If we have talked about a song on this show and it is on Spotify, it goes on this playlist. This ridiculously long Critical Mass playlist. Boy howdy, it's a lot. Star Renegades is on there, and therefore it will be added to the playlist this week. And then once you're done with that, hey, you can find the show on social media at Soundchat OST. And you can give us feedback. You can tell me that I'm crazy, or tell me to get well soon, and tell Peter to get well soon, and tell, I don't know, send me money. Don't send me money. Don't send me money at all, ever. That being said, yeah, feedback and suggestions are basically what we're looking for. Tell me how the episode went. If you have suggestions for games you want us to cover, that's the place to bring them up, because last year we did a good amount of listener suggestions, and I'm hoping to do even more this year, so your suggestions are always welcome. Next week, I will be talking about Mike Peacock, and Peter does not know who he is talking about quite yet, but he'll know by the time we record, obviously. But right now, I cannot tell you who Peter's going to cover, so that'll be a fun surprise for next week. Look forward to it. And with that, it's time to play us out. Usually, I would play us out with a fan cover or a fan remix, but I couldn't find any. I couldn't find anything. Nobody has covered this soundtrack, which is a shame, because I think there are some songs that would translate to, like, metal very well. I think that would be cool. So, as is usually the case when we get that, I pulled out a different song from the soundtrack. This is Many Worlds Theory. Thank you for listening to Original Soundchat. We'll see you next week. Take care.